Hello, this is Muhammad Usman and this is the 7th tutorial of C++ programming. In this tutorial we will learn about the pointers, and pointer is the most important concept of the C++ programming and any other programming which contains this concept. So pointers are actually used for the reference. These are the efficient way of the memory utilization. So how we can use the pointers, which is a very ambiguous kind of concept. So how, first of all, we see how we can create the pointer, how we can assign the variable to the pointer, and how we can use that pointer as for the address, as well as for getting or setting the values to that variable, and how we can pass the function, how we can pass a pointer in the function for the variables as well as for the array. So now I'm going to create the one pointer. We can create the pointer by using int, static, ptr, whatever the name you want to use it here you can. So in static ptr, now I'm going to use one variable as well. Let's suppose I'm going to give a name num to this variable, and here I'm just going to assign num equals to 5. So how we can assign this num variable to this static ptr? First of all, you can see when I run this program, by after writing this statement, this num actually prints the value of this variable, and if I write it here as end of num, it will print the address of the same variable. So let me run this program and let me show you. Okay, here it show me first 5 is the value of the variable, and then it will show me 00CDFB64. it is actually the address of the memory where my variable is exist. Okay, so now if I want to assign this variable to my pointer, for that I need to use the ptr. Okay, I can use ptr simple as well as static ptr. The both method we will see. For ptr is actually representing the address of that particular pointer, and now the address must be assigned to the address. Okay, now I have to define the end of num here, because end of num is representing the address of the num variable, and ptr is also the address. If I use ptr equals to num, it means num is the value and the ptr is the address. We can't assign a value directly to the address. Okay, we can assign address to the address and value to the value. So ptr is the address and the end of num is the address, and static ptr is representing the value of that particular address, and num is also the value. So we can assign the value to the value, and we can assign address to the address. If you make any change, like you want to assign the address to the value and value to the address, in both cases it will show you an error. So we can only assign a static ptr and the num variable simple, and if I use ptr here, and then I have to use AND operator here to make it address. Now my ptr is also representing the same address as well as the same value. So now I'm going to write it here, cout and static ptr, and then the ptr is actually now representing, as ptr is containing the address of this num variable, so ptr is representing the same address, and static ptr is representing the same value of the same variable. So now run your program again. Here it is showing me that 500EFFEBC. So it was showing me the same address as well as the same value. So this is how we can assign the variable to a pointer. Now if you want to pass this variable in the form of the pointer to any function, so how we can do that? First of all, I need to define it here, void test my function. Then I'm going to write it here, int static p. This is actually my pointer type. It will accepting the value in the form of pointer. Now I have to define the function definition, void test and int static p. So now here I'm going to just write this variable cout the address, which is representing by p, as this static p is the value. If I just write it here p, it means that I am printing the address, and now I am going to print the value static p. So end line. So I'm going to pass I'm going to call this function from my main. Test is the name of the function. Now I'm going to define it here any variable, which is num. I have passed this variable num in the form of the parameter. Now I have to define it here, because I'm passing the number parameter, then I have to pass it here in the form of the address. Okay, because it is a pointer type receiving it here. So now run the program. After calling okay, so here it is printing the same value 3 times, 50, and here it is printing the 500, as I have just changed the method here, because here I have printing the value first, and the other cases I have printing the address first. So I'm just going to change it here a bit to sync my results here. Now first one is still changed. Now here, and now you can see that the 006FFA40 and the value is 5. Similarly here 006FF and is 5, and 600FF and is 5. So this is how we can pass the value in the function using the pointer. So if you want to take the input, then you can take the input as well, like you can use the cin static ptr. It will actually take the input in this variable num, because my ptr is representing that particular variable, and if I take the input into the pointer, then it also take that is same as I'm taking the input in the variable. Now I'm going to check that how we can pass the array, and how we can access the array using the pointer. For now I'm going to write it here like int static ptr again. This is actually my pointer. Now I'm going to define an array a of 5. So this is actually the name of my array. Now in the case of the array, I don't need to use the AND operator. When I want to pass my array to the pointer, I just have to define the ptr, which is actually the representing the address. So if I want to give the address of the array to this pointer, then I just have to define the name of the array here, because when I write the name of the array, by default it representing the first location's address. Okay, as I have array, my array consists of the addresses, and if I just representing here a name of the array, then it means that I am passing the address of the 0 location of my array to my pointer. So now I am going to take the input using my pointer in the array. For that I'm going to write the name of the I'm going to write the loop for int I equals to 0, I less than the size of the array, which is 5, and I plus plus. Now in the array I'm going to take the input. For that, for input I'm going to write the cin. Now when we're taking the simple input, then in that case I just have write it the cin static ptr. In this case I still use the static, but I need to increment the address of the array as well. For that, the address is representing by the ptr. Now in every iteration I need to increment the address by I. Whatever the value is the I will increment by I. First time my ptr is representing the 0 location of my array, and value of I is 0. ptr plus I will remain on the same location and it will take the input of the first location, then it will increment by 1 and ptr is also incremented by 1 as the value of I is incremented by 1. So when I use this statement, it will take the input, it will increment the pointer by 1 as well. So this is how we can take the input at all locations of the array using the pointer. Now I'm going to print the array cout, but using the same method again, just I have to change this symbols. I just going to mention it here, taking input using pointer \n for the next line. Here I'm going to write it here, output using pointer, and here I'm going to write end line as well. Just run your program again. So it is asking me for to input. I'm going to import the values. So here it is showing me the values 2 4 5 6 1 3 which I have entered. This is actually the value. If I'm going to print my array again using the function, similarly if I'm using here as just my array, because I have taken the input in using the pointer, but that was input into my array. If I use my array here, it will also show me the same results. So I'm going to write it here as simply an array. Now run your program again, you can see the same results. So here I have taken the input using the pointer, but I have printed using the array. So this is how we can take the input using the pointer in the array as well. Now if you want to pass the array in the form of the pointer, then there is no change in the function. You just have to call that function and pass that variable. As when we pass the array into the function, we just have to write the name of the array. So similarly I just have to write the name of the array, and here my pointer is representing my array A, and now here I just have to write the same code which I have. Let me copy that code, and now I'm going to write test and passing the variable A, which is actually my array. Now here I just have write the same code again, but in this case my static ptr is P. Okay, P is here. Because there is no array, now we have only pointer, so I just have to change the same things again. Now this test function is passing the array A, which is received by this pointer static P into my function, and here I have taken the input using the pointer into my function into my function. Okay, and here I have printed the values of the array. So now run your program again. Here I have I can also print the values here as well, because it is also the pass by reference. Int I equals to 0, I less than size, and I plus plus, and simply I can write it here cout A of I and line. I can print here cout in main. So what's the problem? Okay, I have just misspelled it. Now this is actually the program to take the input in the function by passing the array using the pointer. Now this is actually calling, after calling the function, I am in the function. Now I'm going to give the input 2 4 5 6 7 8. Now it will print the values in the same function again, then it will back to the main function and it will print the same values again. So we can how we can manipulate with the pointers. So I hope it will help you. Thank you for watching my video and subscribe to my channel.